Really excited to embark on this journey with you both over the next next 10 days. Sergey, I was saying to Jochen right before you jumped on, that we might have a third person who joins in session 2 who's actually supposed to be part of a future cohort, but because of the timeliness of a pitch event, they might end up just joining this cohort instead. So we're going to just go through a couple things first. Spend a couple minutes up front just kind of explaining the platform to you, and then we'll get into the actual content. So let me just pull up my welcome deck here. There we go. Okay, great. Okay, you can still see the screen, yeah? Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So welcome in, everybody. So here's what we're going to cover. Quick platform how-to, everything you see on these bullet points. Then I'll show you how to add the sessions to your calendar if they're not already. We'll go through some introductions and then our community agreements. So as a quick, well, actually, before we get to the how-to, Sergey, I just wanted you to be aware of this in case you weren't. When I go to your company's LinkedIn page, the website is LinkedIn flagging a suspicious URL.
Yeah,
so I don't know if you already knew that or not.
Thank you. Yeah, we're working on it.
Got it. Okay, cool. So this is where, you already have joined this. So this is what the program will live inside of. Sergey, what I would love for you to do is answer the welcome question that's in here. Just reply to this post with a comment in the comments section here.
Okay.
So you can consider this view, which is newsfeed, like the same way you would think of like a Facebook wall or a Facebook newsfeed. How I would say we will use that in this program is if you are posting something that you want feedback on, it would go in the newsfeed section, not as a reply to this intro thing, but as as your own brand new post. You have the option to just type freely inside of this, or you could hyperlink to the document, the workbook that I'll give you, or if you need to post like any audio or photo or video, you would just click one of these attachment buttons. And then, so it just works like a normal post. You'll also see too, if you're trying to add a little bit more, you can click this expand to article button. It just gives you more space to type if you feel you need that and you wanted to put a specific title on your post. Might not be necessary. This is probably going to give you everything you need just typing within here. But consider this the stuff you would put in here is the stuff you want to be able to easily find later and have let's call it more like legacy access to. Versus, there's another section here called chat room. And you can literally think of this just like a chat room. So this is a running kind of log from the past cohort as well. What we'll do at the start of each session is I'll just ask you to, I'll have some quick feedback or prompt question that I'll want you to just answer in this section here. But if there's hard things you want feedback on, or you want people to see, or you want to link to, I would not recommend putting it in chat room because it can easily get lost in the overall message feed. This tab here, it obviously just shows you everyone who's in the program, including our past cohorts. So you'll stay in this view, or you'll stay a member of the program, even for future cohorts, as long as you fill out the survey at the end of the program and do the steps that are in the survey. So that would mean when we do a future cohort, if you wanted to take any of these lessons again, you could come back in and do it. Or whether you, and that could be maybe you have a new pitch you want to create, or you just want to refresh or refine something. So this gives you access, and lets you see everyone who's in the cohort. Also potential networking through, feel free to ping these people, reach out to them either within the platform or on LinkedIn as well. Then these are our live sessions. So today we have session 1. And then what you can do, if you haven't done this already, is you can click on each one of these and you can add them to your calendar. And that's what I would recommend you do. So just by nods, have you done that already? Added these to your calendar? Jochen, you have. Sergey, have you?
I've done only for the first lesson. For the rest, I haven't done yet. But yeah, I would definitely follow your recommendation.
Okay.
A short comment here, Raj. You call
Yeah.
me only the way only my mother calls me Sergey. So not to remind me of my mother, could you?
Okay. What do you prefer? Sorry.
In my passport, it's written Sergey, so it is my grandfather's name. Yeah, but everyone
Okay.
calls me Serge generally.
Surge. Okay. All
Serge,
right. You prefer Surge.
Sergio, Sergio, well, Serge.
Okay.
But I don't know. You only know what would be that in German, but
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so Surge. It's probably Surge in German, right?
Yeah, probably is. And there's no name that really comes to mind, but I'll take that as one of part of homework to see if I can come up with something.
Okay,
okay.
so Serge, what I would recommend is actually if you don't have the platform view pulled up right now, I mean, for both of you, pull up your platform view and then just take a minute right now and add these to your calendar so you don't forget later. And then that way you've got the time blocked off. Now, these are the 4 session dates. Now, let me tell you about the optional independent deep work sessions. So if we look at the calendar, you will see, let me pull up my calendar. Oops. So you'll see that there is on April 17th, there is this optional independent deep work session. What there also is, which you're not seeing on that, is on April 15th, is this session called Weekly Traction Hour. So let me explain the difference between the two. For your purposes, they both function as the same thing, but Weekly Traction Hour is actually a call we host to the public for anyone who subscribes to our content. It is designed as a group Zoom call where everyone just does independent work. The whole point of it is just like accountability. So people who aren't even in this program might sign into that. And some weeks it's like 3 people, other weeks it's 10 people who join in. But basically, the way Traction Hour works, and it's every Tuesday at 11 a.m. US Central Time. Is the people who sign in, they just kind of like say at the beginning of the call what they're working on, and then they press mute and they work on it for the hour. Some people join maybe 20 minutes in and they declare what they're working on. But the whole point is to just if you say you're going to do something and then there's a room of people who all have their cameras on and they're also working, it kind of encourages you to work and not get distracted. And then at the end of the hour, we just kind of do a quick once around progress. Did you get the thing done? How much progress did you make? So this is available to you. The way you access it is by clicking on the left panel here. You'll see Traction Hour as its own section. And all you got to do is just add that to your calendar, the specific date. And then so you're aware, Traction Hour is always available to you as long as we're running it on a Tuesday. Every now and then, like I might be traveling or we have to cancel it, but for the most part, it happens every Tuesday. And it's a good thing to join in. For the future, you don't have to work on program stuff. You could, you're like, hey, I got to do my taxes. It seems like a good hour. Or I need to catch up on some bookkeeping, or I need to, figure out something with our website. It's a good time to do that. So that's your like independent session number 1 that's optional. What I want to be clear on in that one is if you join that one, there's no like proctoring or prompting by me, because there's other people who are in that call as well. So consider that like you're just signing in and working on your own. And then separately on, let me go back to the calendar. On the 17th is the other optional deep work session, but that is only for you in this program. Nobody else is in that except for you. So that would be more like if you're signing into that, you're doing your own work, but if you have questions, you could come off of mute and ask me. I'm not formally like structuring anything during that time, but I will be on that call. It will be me and it will be only you in the program. You're going to work. And if you're like, hey, a quick question on this, that's totally fine. Does that make sense how I describe those two and we understand the purpose of those two
Yeah,
calls?
it does. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
I actually did manage to even subscribe to the whole seise with the
Oh,
calendar.
nice. Cool. So it's always on your calendar. Great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. It was a challenge, but I thought that might make sense. 1 hour a week,
Awesome.
do some work.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have a lot of people. We have a lot of recurring people on it. Like I said, it's some days it's 3, some days it's like 10 people who sign in, but people who show up to it are like, wow, it's amazing if you just tell people you're working on something and how you actually get it done. So I think it's a really helpful tool in that respect. Okay, so that's the sessions, and that's how the independent sessions work. The next thing I want to show you, let me go back to the platform here. This tab is course materials. So as we do each session, like right now, your view, it'll probably just show like nothing. But as we do each session, I will unlock what the content from that week, or that session rather. So today is session 1, and what I'm going to do is now make this visible on my end. And then you will now get notified about it, and it's available to you. As we do each session, a lot of this stuff is like progressive. So for example, in this first session here, you have access to, I believe, all 3 of these. Or actually what it is you only get access to the next how-to video once you've declared you've watched the previous video. Declaring you've watched it, I'm going to go the honor system here is just a checkbox on the left side. Once you click that checkbox, the next video will unlock for you. I could have set it up where like you have to get through like 90% video completion to get to the next video. But again, I'm going honor system, and know you might, skim or fast forward or rewind, that kind of stuff. When we do session 2, at the end of session 2, I will unlock this, and you'll have all these additional how-to videos, and then same for session 3 and session 4. So that's the overall platform overview. I'm going to advance to our next part, which is, we just did this, which is quick introductions. Any questions, though, before we move to the next part?
No, not from my side.
Okay.
That's good.
Great. So now let's do some quick introductions. And what I'd like you to do is use these introductions as an opportunity to just kind of like give your current pitch. So imagine you hadn't been on the webinar. Imagine this is you, 1 week ago or 10 days ago or something like that. And someone asks you about your company. What is your response? We'll start with Serge.
Okay, but I have to tell you that with a previous seminar, you already spoiled my mind. So, so frankly, I committed that I'm going to participate, and I would participate. But then at a certain point in time, I understood like, should I really participate? Probably I got everything I needed.
Yeah.
Well, no. Okay. So the way I generally present, and now it is more structured, probably your way. So I generally tell people that we help small entrepreneurs to prove their income to potential lenders. And we do it in an unconventional way, assessing the real metrics of their business, not financials, but the real metrics. And then to keep it short, we do it across 2,500 different types of businesses, and currently in 7 countries. And the plan is to become a global SME rating agency. Full stop.
Okay, great. And the name of the company?
Yevatech.
Yevatech. All right, thank you. All right, Jochen.
Yeah, I am after the. I'm kind of with Serge. I feel like I'm in a warehouse with a lot of boxes, and I've just uncovered a new room of boxes, and they have different labels, and I don't know how to stack them together yet. But so I'm a bit spoiled, and I'm really totally between pitches.
Okay.
And Don't you hate data protection? A lot of people hate data protection. It's cumbersome, it's complex, it's dynamic, and you got to hire all these humans, these lawyers, which are really costly. And you have to do it because if you don't, guess what? Your fancy AI business is going to go poof because you're strangled by fines and everything. And that's why we've invented the Privacy Suite, where we automate everything data protection compliance related, from a guided input to an automated assessment to a proven industry documentation. Privacy solutions. That's what we do.
Somebody really took the material to heart. All right, that was good. That was
I
good.
had very sleep, not that much sleep.
Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Great that to have you both in this. As one other thing I forgot to say with regards to the platform real quick is within 24 hours of each session, we will also get the recording of the session posted inside of here, like from this exact recording. So these are all pre-recorded how-to videos, but we'll also have the live session posted just within 24 hours of each session. Okay, so now let's just go into some quick community agreements. So appreciate you both for giving your introductions there. I just want to have us all on the same page here. These are the community agreements for this program. As a member of 1 Minute Pitch Masterclass, I vow to create a positive experience for everyone, not just myself. I agree to encourage others with my remarks, be open to receiving feedback without being defensive, provide feedback to others before expecting feedback on my own work, not share other participants' work outside of this program without their permission, contribute to the group's success, complete my own work on time with an honest effort, and avoid distracting side conversations. Can we put a yes in the chat if we agree to those bullet points?
Yeah, if I find the chat, I'll put it there.
The Zoom chat specifically.
Yep.
Oh, you mean the Zoom chat or the chat in the platform?
The Zoom chat.
Okay, you have it. It's been recorded.
Great. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, I would like you to go into the chat room of our platform. So not the Zoom chat, but the chat room, which I've got the view pulled up here. And I just want you to quickly jot down in here, what is one thing you are excited about for this program or for today specifically? All right, excited about finally understanding which problem we solved and communicating it. And Serge, if you need the
I can't find it. Is that in a newsfeed?
It's going to be at the very top. You'll see chat room as one of the tabs.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah. All right. Simple enough. Excited to learn something new. Great. Okay. So now I'm going to, I unlocked, if you go to the course materials tab, you will see, you should have access to 1MPMC workbook. I want you to click on that, and then you'll see it links you to a Google document. Click that link to open the Google Doc. Once you have it, it looks like you're both inside as an anonymous Kiwi and an anonymous Python. You're just going to follow the instructions up here. Click File, Make a Copy, And then when you make a copy, fill in the place. So like remove copy of, so like remove copy of, and just write like Ava Tech 1M PMC pitch workbook, and then your target audience over here. Once you have done that, the next step is to share with my email address your copy, and give me editor access. One. And then Johan, in yours, in the target audience section, write down who the target audience is. And I know in your onboarding form you wrote startup grind audience, but think less about that and more about like the customer that you have as your target audience to write down. Serge, you got it on your end?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I've made a copy and now I'm granting you the access.
Okay, I see head of compliance updated on your side. So Johan, great. All right, Serge, let me know when you are ready. I don't have an email update yet that it's been shared with me.
Yeah, it should be with you.
Ah, there we go. Great. Okay, and then just update the title of your document to use your company name and then who your target audience is.
Oh, I guess I've done it, not?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on, right now it still says, it has the placeholder text in the title of the document. So what I need you to do is,
I mean, the one that I've copied, right?
yeah, and the one that you copied, unless, wait, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? I see what happened. I clicked the wrong thing. No, interesting. Here's what happens when I click yours.
Here, the title of my document says Yevatech, and it's lenders to SMEs, the target audience.
Okay, I think you reshared with me the original doc, not the new one. Because when I click on it, it just pulls up the sample one that I created.
Hmm.
So just make sure so on the new one you just updated, share that with me.
I'll do it from scratch. Looks like something wrong.
Pause it. Okay. All right. So we're focused on banks and credit institutions who can loan money to these small, medium-sized businesses. All right. So what we're going to focus on today is your superhero positioning strategy. Now, we talked about this in the webinar the other week. This is the construct of the superhero positioning strategy. As a refresher, you have the person in distress, the village on fire, the superpower, and the superhero. So we're going to build out each of these 4 sections today. The additional aspect to this is, how do we think through who the person in distress is, the target audience? We do that through your audience funnel. So this is a new sort of diagram you're going to see, and it's part of the superhero strategy. The audience funnel is this here. I want you to start thinking of your audience through this lens. These people have this problem causing this feeling at this time. Therefore, they want to feel a certain way. Every time you think about your target audience moving forward, whether, Serge, in your case, it's the lenders or the small business owners, I want you to start thinking about them through this scope. Not just, small business owners, but really think about who they are and what their needs are. So what we're going to do first is fill out this audience funnel, and then that will allow us to help fill out the rest of the superhero strategy. When you do this on your own afterwards, Johan, and then Serge, if you do any refinement after this, you will reference the companion videos for guidance in filling it out. And those companion videos are loaded into, you'll see here, there's a how-to video for the audience funnel and the rest of your superhero strategy. As a reminder, the next video unlocks after you click the first video is done. Okay, so to complete your audience funnel, there's a helpful sort of chart here, if you want to call it that, or just a fill in the blank thing. What we're going to do is fill this out together. So Jochen, you can decide as you're viewing this, you may want to start doing it on your side in your document as well. Or if you learn better by just watching and then separately doing on your own time, also fine, up to you. So let's start, Jochen, with the these people section. These people is going to be the demographic information about this audience. So their persona, what are their priorities, their obligations. Think of this as the objective information. Things like, are they a certain department or job title? Are they a gender, if that matters relative to what your product is? Are they in a certain age group? So it doesn't have to be all of these things, but the things that matter based on what your product actually offers. I also recommend, as you're doing this on your own, just change the color of the text when you start typing, so that way it's you can distinguish easily between what's the prompt and what's your actual answers. So let's start, Serge. Let's start. talk to me about these lenders. Who are they and what do we need to know about them? Don't give me anything about the problems they have yet. Just I want to know the objective information. You could look up and say these are the characteristics of them. Come off of mute.
These are generally the head of credit risk departments or SME lending directors who are looking to find reliable proof. Well, oh yeah, no, sorry, I'm not talking about so they're generally around 30 to 50 years old.
Okay.
They want to find what are their priorities. They want to find a reliable solution.
Think less about like the solution they want and more like, let's talk about like what are they responsible for in their job?
They need to deliver quick loans to SMEs at low risk.
Okay. Keep going. What else do they do in their job that, that at least might be relevant? We don't need to know that like they take a lunch break, but what else do they do in their job that might be relevant to you?
Well, they look for different data sources.
That's to find potential customers.
To find potential customers on one hand, to minimize risks on the other.
Okay. What do they consider to be risk?
The portion of loans not being paid back by the customer.
And how would they, if they're responsible for low risk loans, how might they filter high risk versus low risk customer?
Well, it's a statistical thing. They grant the loans, they see who pays back and who doesn't, and as an outcome of them, they understand whether that was.
Well, but think about before they've given the loan, right? When they're assessing if they should give out the loan, what are they looking at to determine viability?
Generally, they use their own models based on financial data.
Okay. And what are some of the factors they look at?
The main indicator for them, it's called NPL, non-performing loans. So they need to control the non-performing loans.
NPL. So they're trying to control the NPLs. But when so let's say I need to go to them to get a loan. What is their financial model going to be assessing to determine if I would qualify or not?
So generally they would ask for your balance sheet. If you are in a country where they have open banking, they will request an open banking data. They might request your bank statements. In most cases, they will request for collateral. I'm often joking that in Armenia, where I'm from, the banks sometimes request to pledge your mother's kidney to grant you loan. So yeah, that is a pain both for the banks and for the small businesses, because small businesses generally have nothing to pledge.
Okay. Anything else that's common in what they're looking for?
Decision making, how fast the decision making is. So generally, they make decisions in good cases in 2 or 3 days, in bad cases in few weeks.
Okay. How about how is this head of credit risk department or lending director, how are they graded on their own job performance?
And on the volume of the portfolio they formed and on the quality of it. So it is a balance between how big is the portfolio they form, because they're obliged to grant loans on one hand, but those have to be a quality loans.
Okay. Okay. Volume of loans in their portfolio and quality of loans.
Yes.
And who is the person who is like, who's their boss?
Or people generally whom I talk to, they're CEO -1, and it is the CEO.
Okay. Anything else from an objective level that might be worth mentioning here?
I think we covered it pretty deeply.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move into the problems that they face. So what I want you to do now is hit me with a list of their problems. And I want you to think of this from the perspective of how they view their own problems, not necessarily how you view it. There's oftentimes a disconnect there. Like a good example is I see this often when it has to do with software that's like automating a legacy industry.
Mm-hmm.
And like the founder will say, oh, well, their problem is they have outdated systems, but they don't that user doesn't necessarily look at it as I have an outdated system. So
Okay.
I want you to really think and speak through the lens of what are their problems through their lens.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know that because we've built the product because we're talking to clients and we know
Good.
exactly what their problems are. So otherwise we couldn't have created it. So problem
Right.
number one, they look for reliable proof of income, because in most cases and in most countries where we work, the small businesses have not only one type of financial data, and they're generally, as I mentioned before, generally they use financial data to assess these small businesses, but generally they have three different types of financial data. A good one for the bank to get a bigger loan, a bad one for the tax service to pay less taxes, and relatively normal one which they use in their daily activity. So for every banker who is doing a small business lending or any other lender, the main pain is to get a reliable proof that this particular entity earns this much. And that is the main pain. Yeah.
Okay. What else?
The speed. So because they work with unreliable data, the speed of decision making is very low, and they lose it to other competitors who might be using our solutions.
Right. So they might lose out to, let's assume it's a world where your product does not exist yet. Are they still at risk of losing out to another competitor?
Yeah, then no, then just the customers suffer because they get loans in 3 weeks, and for a small business to get a loan after 3 weeks, it's death in some cases.
So the client, the end customer often needs the loan like ASAP.
Yes.
So is it fair to say that a business owner applies for a loan last minute
Well, not really. Just the processes in the banks are designed the way that they're not quick. They're not.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you're saying that the customer might go somewhere else. Are you just saying because they're getting annoyed it's taking a while, or because they need the money like by this Friday?
In certain cases, it might be both, and they may go to another bank who grants the loan in 1 day, not in a week.
Okay.
Then
What else is in their problem set?
the collateral issue is also one of their pains, because they know that small businesses generally don't have collateral. When they request the collateral, because that is the way to mitigate the risk. So they prefer to have a better way to assess small businesses rather than making them pledge their kidneys or flats, cars, and etc.
So collateral being hard to gather from them creates what problem? Is it that they have to turn down more loans than they'd like?
Yeah, they need to reject the customer because they don't know what is the real income. And if they don't have a collateral and they don't know what is the real income, they would, turn down, reject.
Okay. Anything else in their problem set?
No, I think this is more than enough. So these problems themselves are so big.
Okay. Sorry, was there more to that sentence, or you're just saying these are huge problems?
No, that's it. So that
Okay.
it is more than enough. This is what I meant.
Got it. Now, from these 5 bullet points here, which would you say is the lead problem that everything else is a trickle-down symptom or effect of?
The first one.
First one? Okay. So what I'm going to do is take these and just indent them to show that all of these live underneath this big problem. So if I understand this correctly, getting this reliable proof of income includes collateral, like the collateral issue. It
Yes.
includes the fact that it's hard to get when the decision making is slow because of unreliable data. Getting this reliable proof of income ends up meaning the end customer suffers because it's such a slow process, and they might lose to a competitor.
Yes.
Okay. Let's frame it like that. Getting a reliable proof of income is unreliable. Okay. So now the next section here is we've identified this problem and these sort of underlying symptoms. What are the ways that these lenders have tried to solve this on their own in the past, but been unsuccessful? And this could be either through existing solutions available in the market or do-it-yourself solutions they might have hacked together. What we want to do is come up with up to 3. It doesn't have to be all 3, but up to 3 different ways they've tried to do this in the past and been unsuccessful.
Yeah.
So what's one way?
So the first one is they try to create their own models of valuation.
Okay. What is the challenge, and like what's the but to that, and that keeps them unsuccessful?
They couldn't cover a significant number of sectors of types of businesses, of industries.
Okay. What's another thing they've tried to do on their own?
Using external data.
Data sources?
Yeah.
What would be like some names of those?
Mobile operator data, credit history bureau.
There's something in the US called Dun and Bradstreet. I don't know if that's an international thing or if there's something similar.
No, I know them very well. We're in the same list of top 50 companies in the world assessing risks. Yeah.
Nice.
But they use financial data. That is a key difference between what we do and what they do. They're
Okay.
out of Boston, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. So
Yeah.
is that something we should put here or no?
Not really. No,
Okay.
because we do completely different things. Maybe we come to the same result, but the way we come to it is like completely different.
Okay, no problem. Anyone else then that's worth naming as far as an external data source?
Sometimes the tax services, they use a tax service data. In some countries, they have integrations with tax services.
Okay. And what's the but to those things?
Uh, so they are not complete. So all these data sources, they don't give them a full vision. So all this in combination with what we do gives them a full solution, a complete solution.
Where is what is missing? So if it's incomplete, what particularly is missing?
So let me put it this way. So with all these data from our external sources, they generally come to a traditional financial analysis. So they do it in a traditional way. So what we offer is not very traditional, let's say. It's different. And the traditional financial analysis is slow, and it's you need a lot of people to do that, and it's not, in most cases, it's not automated.
Now the bank is not feeling the burden of requires lots of people, right? They're feeling the burden of slow and not automated.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask a follow-up there. When we think of the data being incomplete, what's a specific data point that traditional financial analysis does not have? Or that is lacking in?
Yeah, that is the real revenue. That is real revenue, real income.
Okay. Because unless the company's public, that's not, listed anywhere, right?
Well, it's unreliable. Generally, it's unreliable. I was before. Now I'm in Canada and in Toronto, and before I came here, I had there was a myth that like in Europe, and well, we know in Europe it's not like that. Probably it's a bit different in Germany, Jochen. I don't know if it's like that, but like in Italy, in Spain, and now I can prove it in Canada, and I know it's same in the US. So the SMEs are very transparent and they make no tricks with taxes and etc. But that is not true. That is absolutely not true. We are, I will give you an example of one of the countries where we work in Uzbekistan. So in Uzbekistan, they have around 60% of their revenues undercover. So it's great. So it's revenue, but it is not reported to tax service or to anyone else. So the bankers know this, but they have no tools to measure this real revenue.
Right. Okay. By the way, quick side note, because you said you're in Canada, I didn't realize that. But now you know what? I saw London, not London, Toronto in your onboarding form. So I missed the Toronto part. Now I realized it was London, Toronto.
Yeah.
Real quick, if you haven't seen, I highly recommend you apply to this event here called Code Launch. We just featured it in our newsletter today.
Okay.
And as a startup hype man like subscriber, you get priority application review for it. They have a specific Canada competition coming up in June. I'm going to be the event MC for it. If you get in, you get free software development, and then you pitch in the competition to win additional software development and then advance to their world championship event. If you win Toronto or you win Canada, you would advance to their world championship in Dallas in November, where you compete to get a 50K investment. So I think you might get our newsletter already, but just in case you don't.
I haven't yet. If you could forward this one to me, I would be.
Yeah, definitely. Nebraska, if you're still on, can you just make sure that Serge is getting our newsletter? And then I will also just directly forward this one to you right now. Is this the right email to go to?
Yes.
Okay. The deadline is Sunday, by the way.
Okay.
It's an amazing event, and the pitch competition itself is like a show, and they have me rapping at it as well, so it's awesome. I don't know if you've heard of Elmo Combo, but that's the venue in Toronto that the event is going to be held at.
I'm here in Toronto for about 2 months, so I haven't yet investigated everything. So
I got it. Okay, great. Let me go back into the workbook. Here we are. All right. So now, is there any other way? There doesn't have to be, but is there another important other way they've tried to solve this on their own but been unsuccessful?
well, it's open banking data. And I cannot, but I have no but, like I don't have it yet because it is something new and is not well investigated. So there is no but.
Maybe that's the but, is that it's so far it's unreliable because it's so new.
Well, here I can give you a number of buts. Like, it's not available in all countries. You won't be able to lend to SMEs um, who just started, or who there are a number of buts. But it seems like this is an important source.
Well, so you said not available in all countries, but these lenders are probably they're not loaning to international, right? They're loaning to people who are who are more
their
local.
countries, right? Yes.
Yeah, within the country.
Yeah.
But not everyone's on it though, right?
Yes, not everyone.
So that's probably the but is, you can't use it for everyone. Okay, great. So now we've talked through that problem set and the ways they've tried to solve this. What I want you to kind of see as you were live going through this, and Jochen as well, as you were observing, is like how we really strategically think through, like, what are the ways that they approach this on their own that ultimately creates a need for your product in the first place. So now we move further down in the audience funnel so if I just go back up to the actual diagram here, we did have this problem. Now we go to causing this feeling. So this set of problems that we just talked about here, and getting this reliable proof of income being the main problem, what 1 to 3 feelings does that generate for the lending director or head of credit risk assessment?
Feeling like emotions?
Yes. So is that anxiety? Is it stress? It could even be things like, if you think about how they might, like a quote they might say, like, I'm never going to hit my number. Like those are ways you can view a feeling that gets created.
Yeah, I'm not going to reach the KPIs.
And you said you've had a lot of conversations with them. So the more you can lean on like actual things you've heard them say, the better.
We don't trust our clients. We don't trust our clients. Actually, all we do, we eliminate this component of the lack of trust. So we give them a truthful information. That is the key problem we're solving.
Would you say the trust is a bigger issue than the KPIs?
Not really. In most cases, bankers don't care about the clients. They more care about their KPIs.
Okay. Okay. And do they call them KPIs, or do they say like, you know, quota?
No, it's KPIs, key performance indicators.
Okay. All right. Is this one worth keeping, or should we strike that?
No, it's yeah, it's fine. It should be there.
Okay. We can move to the next section unless you think there's one more feeling. So in
No,
causing this feeling, it's a maximum of 3 feelings.
Yeah, let's go to the next section.
Okay. So now we look at that feelings, or those feelings we just identified. Whoops, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Those feelings that we just identified, when does it hit them? So that's what at this time is. So I want you to think of like trigger events. So like, you know, generic example could be like, I feel back pain when I get out of bed, or I feel this issue of all my data being in different places when I'm doing my end of month expense reporting. Those are examples of trigger events. So what are the trigger events when this I'm not going to hit my KPI occurs?
Another lender declared a competition here. Another lender declared we're granting loan in 10 minutes. We are not, so we're losing competition.
So like when they steal the loan, basically?
Yeah. And the other cases, when a new team comes to a bank, to a certain bank, they need to perform and they need to change things, and oftentimes they need us to do that. So I got a new job, I need to perform, I need to show we're techie guys and we know the market, so let's try something new.
So that's them looking for the solution.
Yes.
But before they've looked for the solution, they have to, something has to have hit them, which is, maybe what you're saying is, if I understand this correctly, is when starting a new job and needing to prove themselves.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. I should have updated the color of this text. Okay. So now, how do they want to feel? If right now they feel like I'm not going to hit my KPIs and I can't trust potential clients, what are the 1 to 2 ways that they want to feel in a dream scenario?
Yeah, everything works without their participation.
Probably also that they're going to reach their numbers, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, that would be a linear answer to the questions.
Okay, great. All right. So what we just did was complete the audience funnel of the superhero positioning strategy. Now we're going to move into the next couple parts, which is Village on Fire, Superpower, and Superhero. The great thing about doing the audience funnel, because that second layer down was have this problem, we've already figured out the Village on Fire. All we're going to do is copy paste what we said was the lead problem here into this section here.
That would be true.
Right? We don't. So, Jochen, when you're doing this on your own, you do not need to write new information in this Village on Fire section. You just copy paste what you identified was the lead problem into this section. And we know we can always scroll back up for all the qualifying factors and symptoms of that problem. So now we flip from talking about them to talking about Avatech, which is the superpower and the superhero. The superpower is the trickiest part of this whole exercise, and it's a lot easier to figure out after we've done the superhero. So, because the superhero is a more tactical answer. So let's scroll down to the superhero, then we'll go back up to superpower. What I want you to do is just start rapid firing off answers to Avatech, specifically to the lenders. What is it? What does it do? How does it help? And why should these lenders care?
It is an alternative way to assess small businesses based on real life data.
Okay.
Which is if we
go ahead.
give you an example, I don't know if it's worth or not. So if we want to assess a restaurant, so we will never ask any financials, bank statements, etc. We would ask how many tables do they have, how many chairs do they have, what is the consumption of gas, electricity, how many bottles of wine did they sell, how many ovens do they have, and how many fridges do they have. So these are the real life data that we use. It's called structural data, natural metrics of doing business. So all these names are relevant for what we do. So we spent around 7 years to identify the important factors for each type of business. And now we have created that catalog, which has the specific questions for every type of different businesses. Okay. So once we collect the data we get from a restaurator needed information, the model compares the answers in between the lines. So if he said, I have 2 waiters, but they served 5,000 people, that the system understands it's a lie. Or he says, I had just 2 clients which ordered 2 dishes, but I burned 5,000 cubic meters of natural gas. That is another lie. So the system cross-checks if the answers are truthful or not. And then we compare these particular restaurants to other restaurants, other similar restaurants in our database. Like we would compare a restaurant in Detroit, a premium class restaurant in Detroit with another premium class restaurant in Detroit. Same in Düsseldorf. We wouldn't compare in Düsseldorf another one in Tashkent, obviously. So it is similar type of businesses that we are comparing with. And then based on that, we excavate the so-called the truth of the index of truth. So how truthful are the answers of the entrepreneur? And then the formula, it is a formula. It's very common to what we are doing is now part of it is called AI. So I prefer never to now, and we're doing AI most probably. Yeah, even my pitch would be built on that because like everything is AI, like everyone is AI.
Yeah,
so
of course.
That is what we do is
AI.
what we do is very AI-ish, but we even have a prize we won in the AI field. But yeah, it's not something that I'm gonna expose. So yeah, then the model assesses the impact of each of these factors, of these tangible assets, metrics, on the revenue, on the real revenue and profit of the organization, of a small business.
So you assess the impact of each asset to then predict what their actual revenues were and profits were?
Yes.
And then does the bank now score this against what might be reported to them just from like the customer itself?
Yes, they do it. And then generally when we start working with banks, they use two parallel models, their own model and our model. And because their model, it takes them a long period of time, few days, and our model gives them result immediately. Then generally for them is the threshold is their own model. They can never trust Yevatech or any other organization. They think that their model is the best. So they compare us towards their model. They see, we call it backtesting. So once they backtest it and they see that we evaluated the same customers with different methods, but we came to close results, they gain trust towards our product, and this is how we generally sell a product.
Great.
So, can I jump in and ask two questions?
Please.
So the one question is, if you have a business that's not so tangible, like let's say software, how do you do you ask for numbers of programmers or whatever? And the other one is, if the client consistently, plausibly cheats you, so like the numbers add up, the numbers of waiter they say they have, the numbers of tables and so on, then you get like a super 100% plausibility score, or a score of truth, but you're being just completely fooled, aren't you? Or
Yeah,
how do you...
these are amazing questions. Yeah. It, are you an ex-banker? No. Yeah, so let me answer to the second one first, to the second question first. Generally, we combine these verifications, like apart from the fact that the system does a cross-checking in between the lines and compares it to the other clients in the database. Oftentimes we have these physical checks. So, and generally banks do that for us because they have in their business process, they are visiting a customer's site and they are comparing what they answered to the reality, and we get back the reports. And then we have a certain threshold. So everything, the index of truth has to be above 70% in most cases. And in those cases, the customer is good for the bank, but for us to enrich our database with these new customers' data, we need to have a 90 plus truthfulness of the answers. And the combination of two gives us reliable data so that we're not cheated because they did it on purpose. And let me give you another example. We had a fraudulent case when there is a guy who used to have a shoe repair shop, and when he decided to retire, and when he decided to get a loan and to to steal the money from the bank, so obviously he could fill in the questionnaire, our questionnaire, in perfect manner. So obviously our system said that this is a good client, you should grant a loan, but that is a fraud. So we're not there to prevent the fraud. We are there to substitute the classical financial analysis with a different way of assessing business. And generally our system is used in combination with banks' anti-fraud systems, and it works well. So if this guy was previously a criminal or is under investigation and so on and so forth, that is not something that we check. So this is something that the bank does in their own systems. And we don't pretend to be an anti-fraud system. And remind me of the first question, sorry.
Non-tangible.
What if it's software and it's non-tangible?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the software. So look, in most cases, the software companies do not come to the banks to get the loans.
That's exactly what I was thinking. They're going for VCs, not banks.
They're going to VCs. We sometimes have, generally we claim to precisely assess any company that has an annual revenue of up to 10 million euros. And that is the definition of our small and medium size. So for us, medium size would be anything generating less than 10 million euros. So yeah, and here we rarely see the software companies, but we have some types of businesses like the companies who do the trade via marketplaces and others, but we don't have that many IT companies, let's say, in our. So we're more working with tangible types of businesses. If you're interested, I can share you all the types of businesses that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a way, I don't want to hijack this, but in a way, we're solving the same issue of unreliable data. In our case, it's the human entering in good spirit unreliable, data information, but because it's so complex, the data that they enter is unreliable. So we need to augment it, like and process it like you do with your system there as well. So, and maybe one final question: why are you only going for these sort of indirect figures? Why are you not asking for the like, let's say, the classical financial data to completely take over the banking system?
Let me pause there, actually, just because in the interest of time, I want to make sure we get to the rest of this
I'm
exercise.
sorry. Yeah.
Serge, why don't you just follow up with him on that separately?
Yeah,
But I am going to guess because the bank has these the traditional measures through their own means.
in reality, we have also the questions that have to do
Okay.
with financial data, but we claim that it's not used to assess the credit worthiness. It's used to make sure the cross-checking is right. So if they answered they have an equipment and they have no leasing payments, we would consider this is a lie. So yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. The coming real quick back to the what is the product? Is it a platform that they log into?
Yes, it is, and we have API integrations as well.
Okay. Okay. So now let's come to the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
How does AvaTech help these lenders?
So we reduce time of decision making. Some appreciate even more the reduction of time than the precision of evaluation. I don't know why, but yeah, for some, the speed of decision making is even more important. And then, yeah, precise evaluations is correct. That's it.
Okay. Why should they care? So you have those three benefits we just talked about. Now, what deeper need or desire does that fulfill?
Well, it makes their life easy and entrepreneurs' lives as well.
So probably then they are able to approve more loans.
They're
Right.
able
So
to approve more loans. They're able to hire less, they call it underwriters, so guys who are checking the customers.
I also think too, it prevents them from bad loans, right? It hedges their risk against bad loans.
We are coming to that. I want to start hedging for the bank. So if the bank uses my system and the customer defaults, I want to start like hedging it. So I'll pay the bank if the customer defaults.
Wow. You are getting there. You're there today.
I'm not there yet. I've done some pilots. I had a Hungarian bank as a client, and they kind of sold the clients whom they declined to us, and we granted them loans from our own balance sheet. And I had a zero non-performing loan, but that was a very specific pilot in a very small niche. So those were small manufacturing companies.
Okay. That's good to know. And then all of this, as we talked about earlier, would help them hit their number, right? Hit their
Yeah,
KPIs.
absolutely. Yeah.
KPIs. And also, you're going to lose less loans to competitors.
Yeah.
All right, great. taking all of this into account, let's come back to the superpower now. So here's how you want to think about the difference between the superpower and the superhero. The superhero is the ground level tactical description of the product. The superpower is the 10,000 foot overview. It is the ultimate brand promise. You could not that you need to have the words perfect right now, but you could almost think of it like a slogan or a tagline. And just to give you a quick sort of idea of that, if we were to have run WeWork through this model, for example, every WeWork you ever went to, there was a big sticker on the window that said, "Do what you love." And then underneath that in smaller font, it was like hundreds of workspace, hundreds of desks, flexible lease terms, offices or open desks, 24/7 access, lots of amenities, et cetera, et cetera. But the big brand promise, the superpower, was helping businesses do what they love. Another example would be Corona, the beer. Their tagline is "Find your beach." It's not, it's not like 100-calorie Mexican lager. It's "Find your beach." That's their big brand promise. Coca-Cola is "Open happiness." It's not small. It's not packaged bottles of high fructose corn syrup with carbonation, et cetera, et cetera. It is "Open happiness." So again, I don't need to necessarily have the words figured out right now, but at a conceptual level, what would you say is the big brand promise of AvaTech to these lenders?
Non-bureaucratic small business loans. Well, maybe these are not very, stylish words, but yeah. No hustle.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
No hustle, like easy SME loans.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I like how you very quickly course corrected from non-bureaucratic to no hassle. Nice. Okay, no hassle, easy SME loans. Great. And I think that works, something along those lines. Now, again, we don't need to have the words figured out today, but at least conceptually, that's where we're at as far as the superpower. Good.
Yeah, that's it. Because as I mentioned previously, like the ambition is, because the model is very adaptable and we have done it 7 times in 7 different countries and we want to do it globally. Let me explain a bit more. Because we work with the structure of the business. The structure of the business in the US, in the UK, in Germany, in Spain, in Armenia, and in Uzbekistan is the same. The key difference is that they generate different revenues with same elements of doing business. So and our job is to identify how much a restaurant in London and Dusseldorf and Yerevan generates precisely. And this is why we have the ambition to become a kind of a rating agency for SMEs, rating, to change it a bit, not to help the banks to grant easier loans, but to help the SMEs to get easier loans, because they come to a bank with a rating from AvaTech, which is something that they understand, because the small businesses don't understand financial statements. They understand the real metrics, like how many people they have at the kitchen or how many drivers the taxi service has. So we want to make it easier for the small businesses.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gets us to the end of the superhero strategy, which is what we needed to complete for today's session. So we're going to meet again on Monday. And when we get to session 2, that's going to be live pitch creation. So what we're going to do is take everything from today and flip it into a K-Pasa pitch.
Okay.
What you can do over the weekend is reflect on this and add any additional detail that you might think is necessary. It's possible you don't need to add anything, but if you look at this a second time through, maybe you decide there's a couple more, pieces of information that are worth including.
Of course, yeah.
And then Jochen, on your side, your homework is going to be to fully complete this superhero strategy by the time we do Monday's session. Any questions that either of you might have on this portion of the process we did today?
Oh, it's all clear to me.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
That was cool. Liked it.
Awesome. In that case, let's go into the platform and open up chat room. And I want you to just quickly jot down what is one thing you took away from today's session. Awesome. Great. Thank you both for doing that. Okay, so here's what's going to happen now. This has already been unlocked. So you'll be able to watch these how-to videos as you complete this, Jochen. And then again, Serge, if you want to go back through this, I highly recommend, regardless, even if you don't make any additional edits, I highly recommend watching these just so you get that full sort of understanding. And then by about this time tomorrow, Nebraska will have today's live session recording posted in here as well. You'll just see a new section here that says session 1 live recording that'll get added. Okay.
Okay, very good.
Fantastic. Okay, I will see you both then on Monday we are meeting at same start time, 11:30 a.m. Central Time. So we'll do the live pitch creation of Serge's pitch during that session and then talk through how we came up with sort of each line of that pitch. So you are 72 hours away from a fresh K-Pasa, Serge.
Okay, very good. Very good. Very good.
Okay, fantastic. And then if you have any questions as you're working through this, post them into the newsfeed section of the platform.
Good.
All right.
Good.
Great work
Excellent.
today. And I'm excited. And Serge, remember to apply to Code Launch before the deadline is Sunday. So apply this weekend.
I will.
No
I will.
pressure.
All right, great. I'll see you all on Monday. Thank you.
Have a great weekend,
Yeah.
guys.
Have a good
Go
weekend.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.